Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for Akati Grant Writing Services. My name is LaTwan and I'm the owner of Akati Grant Writing Services, and on this channel I provide quick and free resources to help small and new nonprofit leaders learn more about the grant writing process and gain strategies on how to add grants to their fundraising strategy. So for this video, we're going to talk about 5 steps that you can take to make sure your organization is truly grant ready. The first strategy or step that you can take to make sure your nonprofit is grant ready is engaging your board members. Your board members are the first point of contact when it comes to finding grant opportunities and making sure your organization is financially stable. They can be a great source of income for your organization to make sure you qualify for certain grants. And also, a lot of grant applications will ask you who your board members are. You'll be asked for a list of your board members, and some applications will even ask you how much your board members are contributing to your organization. So before you start writing grant applications, you want to make sure your board members are fully engaged, that they're contributing financially to your organization, that they have good networks and contacts with potential grant makers, and that everyone is in agreement and on the same page about adding grants to your fundraising strategy. So that's always the first place you want to start. The second way to make sure you are grant ready is by making sure you're implementing or developing strong policies and procedures within your organization. It's really important that your organization is organized and as efficient as possible before you add grants to your fundraising strategy. So this means making sure you have policies about how you're going to implement your program, how your team is going to work together, who does what, and how you manage your team, and also how you manage your finances and how you track your funds. So it's really important to be organized and efficient and have these policies and procedures before you add grants, because if you aren't running an organized program, adding grants to your fundraising strategy could actually be more of a burden and a hassle than it would be a benefit. A lot of times grant makers will require you to provide reporting and to, indicate the progress that you've been making. And it's going to be really hard for you to do that and for you to track your finances and provide those reports if you don't already have clear policies and procedures in place to make sure you can meet those deadlines, be organized, efficient, and accurate and how you implement your program. So that's something really important to make sure you have in place before you start writing grants. The third thing that you can do to make sure you are grant ready is to establish and implement data collection practices. So in the grant application process, you are going to be able to write a much stronger grant proposal if you have data to support the significance of your organization or the significance of your program, and to provide data to speak about the impact that you're actually making in your community. Grant applications always ask you for information pertaining to your needs statement or the significance of your program, the measurable objectives or the outcomes of your program, and the success metrics of your program. So those 3 things are always going to require you to report data or statistics to show, the problem or the issue you're trying to address in your community, and to speak about how you're going to make a change or bring progress to that issue. And you're going to be a lot more competitive in the grant application process if you have data to support your statement. So you want to go ahead and think about how you're going to collect that data, what resources you'll need access to get the data, and how you report that data both internally and externally so that you can meet those data requirements. The fourth thing that you can do to make sure you are grant ready is solidifying your income strategy. Sometimes it can be tempting to treat grants as a band-aid or a quick fix to any financial problems you might be experiencing in your organization. Or if you're smaller or new and you don't feel that you have enough money to actually implement your program, you might think that adding a grant or just getting a grant will be a quick fix to that issue. But actually, grants should only be added to your organization after you have already established a successful fundraising strategy that doesn't rely on grants. You never want to rely on grants 100% because grants, they come and go, they aren't guaranteed, and you're not, gonna get a grant overnight. So you want to make sure that you have an income strategy that brings money into your organization in other ways, whether it's through your board of directors, major gifts, or individual donations, and other fundraising campaigns that you've been successfully implementing even without a grant. You want to make sure you're in a position that if you never get a grant, or maybe if you do get a grant, but then that grant ends, that your programs can still be sustained and run regardless of what happens in the grant application process. So make sure that you think about that also, and that you aren't using grants as a get rich quick methodology, or just trying to chase money just because the grants are out there. So make sure you're strategic to think about your income strategy before you start seeking after grants. And the fifth and final step that we're going to talk about is creating documentation or a all-star grant proposal template. So this is basically going ahead and developing documentation that describes your organization's background and the details of your program design, the goals, objectives, evaluation, and key components of your program, so that you can already have a template or a document that exists that will help you streamline the grant application process. So if you have this template already made, then it makes it a lot more efficient and effective for you, and you can actually apply for more grants in a quicker amount of time without having to start each proposal from scratch. If you have a template, which we call all-star proposal template, that means you can always repurpose, re-edit, and reuse this document to help you be more efficient without having to always start documents from scratch, or rethink what you're going to say or how you would describe your program. You can always just go back to that master document, edit it, make some tweaks to it, and tailor it specifically to the grant maker or the funder that you're applying for. But it'll just make it a less burdensome process for you, and you can be consistent in how you tell your organization's story, how you communicate about your program's goals and impacts, and then everyone can be on the same page, and you won't have to have multiple versions out there. You can just have this master template and just give everyone in your organization access to it, and have a collaborative process to make sure that document is always up to date, and then be more streamlined in repurposing that document and using it for multiple grant applications. So that's something really effective and really strategic that you can do before you ever even start writing a grant. Is just familiarizing yourself with the components of a proposal, and then going ahead and creating that template, and then using that template for all of your future grant applications. So those are just really quick 5 steps or 5 strategies that you can use to get your organization more grant ready. You might already have a few of those steps in place, or be ready to move on to other steps. If you have just maybe 1 or 2 of those, you can think about some of the ways to make sure you have all 5 steps in place. and just, preparing yourself to be as successful as possible in the grant writing process. So if you're interested in learning more about in-depth trainings that you can take to really learn more about getting grant ready and how to complete the full grant writing process and bring in more grants to your organization, there is a link in the description box that you can click to learn more and get enrolled in that training. And you can also connect with us on Instagram and Facebook, and visit our website if you want to learn more. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can always be up to date on the resources that we provide and connect with us going forward. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.